Hello and welcome to the Temple of Tomes with your host, Indie Comics Jones. Today is October 23rd, 2021. It's been a while since I did one of these. This is episode 438. So I don't have my regular drawing board. That has actually been sent to consignment to sell. We're getting rid of just about everything before I move. I will get another drawing board in the future, but right now I'm using my portable, was it 11 by 17 drawing board to do this review. Not All Robots number 3 is what we're looking at. This is from Awa Upshot. Comes out from Mark Russell. Very interesting art on the cover here. Appears to be a mechanical heart, and as you know, we've got these robots that they have an empathy chip that can be disarmed, and so they're really kind of heartless, honestly, and they grouse about just like any working stiff wood, because they're now doing all the work that humans were supposed to do, and the humans are unhappy because they feel they have no purpose in life, and the robots are unhappy because they're working all the time, pretty much. Now, there's been a lot going on in this book. I really like this, and I'm going to actually compare it to The Last Man, which is the Hulu FX series that's been going on based on the graphic novel The Last Man, because I think there's some kind of similarities, but there's show how this is successful in telling the story while the other one is totally not. Okay, this actually kind of takes place sort of in a woke type atmosphere. However, it's done where it's part of the landscape. It's not being forced down your throat. It's not saying, look, we're doing the right things, blah, 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 because we have this and we have that, and we're doing this and saying that. It's not that way at all. It's just the way that it is, the things are. And what we have in here as well is the robots that are doing the work aren't being held accountable for what they are doing when they make a mistake. So what we've got going on too is not only the humans feel kind of oppressed, but the robots feel kind of oppressed, and now there's a new generation of robots that are coming on. They're going to replace the current ones. So now those robots are feeling threatened by what they call the Mandroids that are going to be made and coming out shortly. And the Mandroids look more human than robot, as we'll soon see. So let's take a quick look to see who worked on this. We have to go a few pages in. Mark Russell is the writer. I think he's doing a great job on this very interesting story. Mike Deodato Jr. is the artist. Good art in here. Lee Luffridge is the colorist. Steve Wands is the letterer. And Rasa was the cover artist. So this almost looks kind of like a photo. Maybe it was done in Photoshop or something like that. I'm not sure. But it is very realistic looking. I just want to say that the one thing I do not like about this, and I know they're not going to change it, is it's all section-y looking. As you can see, you've got these things, and you're wondering if there's supposed to be something going on in these sections that are crossed off. I would have rather them just let it bleed off instead of putting it in a box like that, or make these little boxes that don't mean anything. But let's go through the story as we know it so far. We're following one family, and what has happened is at the Orlando Disneyland, basically, or Disney World, they had a robot shut down. Everybody's living in a bubble now because of pollution. I'm assuming it's pollution or climate, whatever, global warming, whatever you want to call it, poisoning. So they're all living in bubbles. Orlando is in a bubble. The one robot that was controlling Disney World shut off the air by, I don't know if it was by accident or it was just a malfunction, and 200,000 people died. And they had a trial for him, and he was acquitted, mostly because he was a robot, and the judge was a robot, and they just fed him some information from a flash drive, and that was his defense, and it worked. So we have our family here. The breadwinner of the family is, of course, now a robot. He comes home every day doesn't talk to him. They want to speak to him and say, well, how was your day at work and stuff? And he just slams the door. Now, they're getting a little intimidated by this robot. His original name was Razor Ball, and to make it less threatening, there was a new law passed where all the robots were renamed after the Orlando incident. So he went from Razor Ball to Snowball, I believe that's his name now. And he does not like the name. So the robots actually seem to have feelings in this, which is kind of cool. So they have this side story about the grandma living out in the wilderness by herself. She chooses to live that way. Before the bubble closed, she had a chance to come back, but she decided to live out there. So they think she's dead, of course. But we all know that Grandma would probably not want to live out in the wilderness. It would mostly likely be Grandpa would rather be by himself. But we've got a little gendering swap there on that idea. You'd think the grandmother would want to be with the kids that are growing up and growing older and see their lives as they progress. Okay, and that was 10 years ago they lost Grandma. Now, meanwhile, they're at the big OMNI Corporation. It's coming out with the Mandroids, and this is in Cupertino, California. The other one is in, I believe it's Atlanta, is the other bubble that we're following this family. And these guys, that's the same city that Apple's in, if you're not familiar with that. And their headquarters, and they're coming up with new ideas to make things more friendly for everybody. And they're also coming out with their marketing plan for the Mandroid. So we have Grandroid, who could replace the grandmother that has passed away. Culturally acceptable black friend. Validating underling. So whatever you need, the Mandroid will suffice to do. They do plan on keeping the regular robots, some of them around, to do the worst jobs. So that's their idea on that. So as you can see, they actually have a robot holding a gun sitting on a park bench like he's going to take care of himself. So little strange things that do go on in this comic. Now he finds out that his neighbor, this buff guy here, across the street, has ordered a Mandroid already and can't wait to get it. And the big surprise at the end is, I'll share it with you. I'll spoil it with you. Otherwise, turn off. This is a recommend, by the way. So if you haven't been reading it, I do recommend. This is just such a strange, awesome story. And it puts a lot of stuff that's on TV to shame right now. So we do have like this cross-cultural going on between the robots and the humans. And now it's going to be with the new robots coming out. It'll be very interesting to see what happens with all that. Here's the 5 most powerful people in the world. They all are the heads of major corporations. So it'd be like your Zuckerman and Mrs. Bezos. I don't know. They have 2 women in there. And really, really just good stuff. You can see all these extra squares are. I'd rather have like more picture than these decorative squares or whatever they're supposed to be, artistically placed. But so we end up with a page that's only this big, and it could be like 10% larger, which would be really nice. But the writing's real good. The dialogue's real exciting. Not a lot of action, but just reading what's going up and how the buildup is going is pretty neat. The father actually comes down and talks to the robot at one point, and the robot just tells him, just go away. So they're kind of freaking out. They're a little bit scared of the robot. And they talk about the Mandroids that are coming out, how, they kind of swaps from a TV show to the headquarters, to the family, to the factory where the robot works. And it keeps the story going. So what he finds out, his neighbor does get one of the first Mandroids, and this is the kind of the strangest part. As he goes back to talk to him, his neighbor, he finds out his neighbor got a Mandroid that looks just like his wife. So is that creepy or what? So that's how we ended up. Now we got the next issue coming out November 17th. I should be situated back in California by then. I'm hoping to pick that up because I'm really enjoying this. I do not want to miss an issue of this. It's been going great, and you can see the kid's trying to sleep, and he's got this the snowball standing in the doorway, kind of freaking him out. So real quick, here's some more coming attractions for next week. The humans are rioting, by the way, because of not only because they want to work, but because of the acquittal of that robot that messed up and killed 200,000 people and didn't get any kind of punishment. But I just want to talk real quick about The Last Man. I've watched about 2.5 episodes, and it is not a recommend by any stretch of the imagination. I think it feels like they read the book jacket summary. All men die, and the one man's left alive, and he must figure out a way to survive all the strange stuff that's happening. But what we get instead is a cast of characters in this thing that none of them are likable. None of them. Oh man, I don't like any of them. I keep wanting to like some things, and they have some twists in there. You can tell that the writer, Elisa Clark, or the producer, executive producer, whatever she did, she wrote the first episode, maybe the first two, that she is very woke, in the fact that if you look at the political leaders that are female on the Democrats and the Republican side tends to be, in my opinion, much more attractive than the females on the Democratic side. Much more attractive. But in this one, all the Republican women are kind of chubby or kind of not very attractive, while everybody else, the Democrat women, are all in shape and, just ready to go, raring to go. The Last Man that they have pictured here, and it's very bothersome because I'm not sure this is the way the original went. I read parts of it a long, long time ago, but the original book, I don't remember it being quite like this. The woman that ends up being president, because all the men have suddenly died, she's got 2 kids, and she's named one Yorick, her son Yorick. He's the last man alive, and that was kind of the clown from Hamlet, I guess. And then she named her daughter Hero, and so the son has kind of grown up and become almost a clown. He's an escape artist, magician type thing, failing at everything he does, has no money to his name. And then Hero is a paramedic and having an affair with the guy that she kills during a argument. So like nobody in this thing is likable. I kind of like the president that died, but we didn't see enough of him to really see if he was a likable character, and he's off the script already, so not really coming back to that. Everybody else was kind of a jerk. Now Diane Lane, I do like looking at her, and she's at her best when she's wearing a low scoop top, but some of the stuff she said there, and there's one woman that does act like a man on there, and it's the black female, and I'm wondering if she's going to end up being lesbian. She's actually a secret agent within the Secret Service. So she's she's posing as a Secret Service person, but she's a secret agent for working on behalf of the president who passed away. So she is Agent 335, I believe, is her name, and she changes her looks by cutting off her dreadlocks. So she's got all these different things, and they're trying to take down, I guess they're worried about terrorists and things like that. So they claim that the president is a supporter, the old president that died, a supporter of the KKK. However, his actions seem quite different, as he sent in Agent 335 to go in there and basically execute them all. at this one place in the middle of Kansas. So, a lot going on in that story, a lot not likable. There's a lot of plot holes, a lot of stupid stuff, people being doing this. You know, the one last man has a monkey, and the monkey does all these crazy things that moves the story along, but it's pretty dark and dreary, and just goes to show that, when I think the one thing it points out, but they're trying not, I don't think they really see it, is that when you put people in charge of, put a lot of females, I guess, in charge of HR, well, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this one, in charge of HR, or personnel, or the diversity groups, inclusion, and what else, PR, and everything goes to hell, and the guys that are usually around to fix things aren't there. There's only a handful of people left that can fix it, and they're spread so thinly that it's not enough to help everybody else. So, yes, men are valuable in our society, despite what women saying a woman needs a bicycle, a man like a fish needs a bicycle. No, this pretty much proves that not to be true. But anyway, that's my 2 cents on this. And it's just, I would just say skip The Last Man unless you're going to read the comic, because this takes a big detour from the comic. And no likable characters in this, I'm telling you. Okay, so thanks for stopping by and listening to my video review rant of Not All Robots plus The Last Man. We'll see you next time at the Temple of Tomes. Please like if you like this. Please dislike if you didn't like what I had to say. I understand that The Last Man also has already been canceled, so that doesn't forebode for things for the way that show was put together, I believe. So please subscribe if you haven't. Leave comments if you wish, and we'll see you next time at the Temple of Tomes. I don't know when the next video I'll do is, but I'll try to get something out fairly soon. Just crazy stuff going on here, packing, and my studio's been torn down, and I'm just subsisting like this for the next 13 days before we pull out of Texas and head towards California. So we'll see you next time. Stay tuned. Thanks for stopping in. This is Indie Comics Jones from the Temple of Tomes, bidding you adieu.